Hello, and welcome again to yet another episode of Romancing Our Stones, your male survival guide to media and pop culture your girl will likely drag you to. This is Alex.
And I am Matt, and we apologize for not leading the show off with some Sum 41 beatboxing.
Like last episode. Yeah.
We are not together this episode, so it's kind of hard to really dig into the Fat Lip or the Hell Song or whatever may tickle your fancy this particular day. But we're glad you're here.
Our listeners don't know that typically we have a little pregame ritual of beatboxing and getting our vocal cords warmed up for this, but instead we just have to we can't do it together. It's a bummer.
And we also do tummy sticks before the show, but that's just a personal choice.
Yeah, and hide the cucumber.
So we are going over Tayshia's, I think it's episode 8 overall, but it's Tayshia 5, I think.
It's week 9, Tayshia.
Tayshia 5.
Tayshia 5, yeah.
And we got a good show coming up for you because the episode was interesting. But first, before we do that, Alex, what are you drinking?
Well, a really good friend of mine dropped off some peanut butter graham cracker porter from Denver Beer Co.
Wow.
One of my breweries in town. This one is 12 fluid ounces of straight. What are we looking at here?
I think it's a 5.
Is it 5?
I don't know.
Bottle. I don't see it.
Whoever dropped that off sounds like an amazing lover.
Yes, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, 5.6. You were very close. 5.6.
Okay. Is this friend of yours good looking?
Yes.
Does he have a sultry voice?
Yes. Oh. And he's looking and feeling fantastic, and he's wonderful.
Oh,
I can't talk about him enough. I've been blowing up my diary recently. Gotta buy another one.
Well,
what are you drinking?
I am drinking a Hibernation Ale, which is an English-styled old ale from Great Divide here in Denver, Colorado. It is 8.7%. So
Ooh.
For Alex, that means good night. For me, that means good morning. And it's not great. I'll tell you that much. They've been sitting in my fridge since I bought them a couple weeks ago, but I mean, they're really strong. They're very spicy. We've got a winter spice to it, which is good on a cold day, which today is not. It was like 65 today here in Denver. But I want to make space in my fridge, so I'm drinking that today.
For the good stuff.
Look how dark that is, though.
It is dark. You can't even see through it.
I know. So that's
cheers.
what I'm drinking. Well, cheers to you, buddy. We should get your friend on the show. He sounds really handsome.
Yeah. Little do you know, spoiler alert, he's been part of the show this entire time.
What?
It's you.
Shut up.
It's you.
Oh, wow. What a surprise. All those things are true, by the way.
Can I just mention to our listeners, by the way, that a beer being stuck in your fridge for 2 weeks means it's not a good beer. A beer stuck in my fridge for 2 weeks means that I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Are you calling me an alcoholic, or what are you saying? No, my beer goes fast in my fridge. So
yes. Well, you enjoy a beer when you watch football or when you're watching a good show like The Bachelorette. I drink a beer when you come over. That's why my beer's still sitting in my fridge a week later.
It's kind of funny because your wife always says that, or you always say that I'm the reason why you drink, and the only time that you drink is when I'm around. So I'm honored, and I'm glad that you have a peanut butter beer because I brought that over for you, and you didn't take a single sip the entire time I was over at your house. And I brought that over. So
I didn't even crack a single can open. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of it?
I like the peanut butter.
Yeah,
actually, I mean, I'm not much of a porter guy. I've gotten to the point where I like the lighter beers. I like ones that I can see through. I like the golden. I think darkest I'll go is amber these days, but it is good. I will finish this beer.
It tastes like a Reese's peanut butter cup, so.
Yeah, it kind of does. It says damn Skippy, it's smooth.
Well.
But we digress.
Yeah, we kind of got carried away on guy stuff. Let's jump back into this girl stuff here.
We got some really good content here this episode. Let's kick it off.
Yeah, so the episode picks up where it was left off with the 2-on-1 with Noah and Bennett.
Yes.
And, before I say anything, I can say like big props to Tayshia for the way she handled it. I think she asked direct questions and she listened. Like, I don't necessarily agree with her final decision.
Yep.
I'm not questioning the integrity of her whatever. But, you know, like, I did like how she took both aside, asked direct questions, allowed them to speak, allowed them to elaborate, then came back and then made seems like a just decision based on what was presented to her.
Yes.
But I also really liked how Bennett did not mince his words. He did not take back anything he said. He's just very resolute in what he said. And he told her that he thinks that Noah is deficient in 3 of the 4 pillars of emotional intelligence. He owns his words. Where I said that he has 0% chance of ending up with you, and here's the reason why, which I think that you could have answered that easily.
Well, what I appreciate is that Bennett might be the first guy, or let's just call him, let's pull them all together, first contestant in any Bachelorette season where somebody goes, he was saying this about me, and then when the Bachelorette comes in and says, is this true? Bennett stands by his word and goes, yes, this is what I said.
Yes, I'll own it.
That's he what owns I said. It. And so, I mean, kudos to that guy because he's the first person to ever do that. Most of them talk behind each other's backs, and as soon as it comes out, they try and talk around it or kind of try and squeeze out of it. No, Bennett's like, no, I said what I said. Here's why.
And I think that Bennett I think that something that bugged me with Tayshia is I don't think that making a decision, like questioning, like saying that she won't end up with Noah is not questioning her integrity, because this whole thing is a process. And I think Bennett should explain this better. It's a process. You're going to say yes to people that you're not going to end up with because you're pursuing different things. In the end, I don't see him being with you for X, Y, and Z, but I'm not questioning you for trusting the process and trusting your gut along the way.
And that's something that I was going to ask you, because I feel like that was, you can call it a slippery slope, whatever you want to call it. I feel like she jumps immediately to this assumption that he's questioning her integrity or her judgment. And I'm like, what? No, just because she hasn't seen all of the sides of Noah yet. Because she hasn't been living with him in the same house for 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, and again, and I think this is where Noah nailed him spot on, where he talked to Bennett about how he was being condescending. And I think it was more so Bennett being condescending is what ruined his chances in the first place.
Well, I thought Noah.
She even mentioned that. She said, I see the way you talk to people sometimes.
Yeah, and he is condescending. But do I think he knows he's being condescending? No. Which is either the sign of a sociopath or a sign of a genuine person. But I thought Noah's line was brilliant when he said that I'm afraid this will be turned on to you if you ended up with him again. I'm like, wow. Props to Noah for thinking on his feet, because that's a brilliant line, which I think sunk with her.
Yep. And again, I don't understand that tie. I don't understand how she tied that to her integrity or her judgment.
I don't either.
By Bennett saying, I see that there's 0%.
It's kind of like it's kind of like, guys, it's like making a power ranking system. Like you power rank your favorite fruit, and like all of a sudden it comes down to strawberries and bananas and you don't know where it falls. So you make a judgment call, and people are going to disagree with your placement of strawberries versus bananas based on their own personal experience. But at the same time, it's part of the process, and those fruits have to land in a certain order, or else, am I coming through clear to you?
Where is this going?
I think it's going exactly where it needs to go. I'm saying that Tayshia has to give out so many roses per deal, so she's going to say yes to people that are not going to be the final answer. In fact, everyone but one is going to be the final answer.
Exactly. I mean, what is the probability that Noah's going to get chosen?
0.
Very low, right?
Well,
just probably, just statistically speaking in general.
1 out of 12.
Right? Exactly. So less than 10%.
Yeah.
Bennett just calls it. He says 0 actually for you. Because she's going to, as she gets to know him more, he's not going to be, again, she's concerned about him being ready for marriage. Right?
And now we're old guys now, but he's too young.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been through some shit. He doesn't know what he's getting into.
Well, just think about this. I mean, I'm 31. I'll use this. I'll give myself the same age gap, right? Did 20-year-old me know
19.
what he wanted or whatever? No. You know, Bennett says there's 11-year difference between him and Noah. Like, I'm a way different person now, for the better, than I was when I was 20. And I mean, it's a valid argument. It's going to be.
I think so as well. I mean, I got married at 27, engaged at 25. You know, my idea of what marriage was so different at that point in life. Now being 32, and divorced, you know, like it ain't it ain't sunshine and roses all the time. And you know, if you're still having emotional feelings towards your mustache that you can just grow back, then there's, you know, emotional attachments to it, then you're probably not ready for marriage. And I agree with Bennett in that part. So it's kind of hard. It's interesting because you look at the negative backlash that Bennett's getting. Yeah, he's a douche, but I mean, he's honest, and you know, like he does not lie to her. He treats Tayshia good when he's with her. That's why when she sent him home, because she ultimately chose to send him home, not give Noah the rose, she said something didn't feel right. And, you know, like he kind of had some serial killer vibes the rest of the episode. Bennett did, like legit serial killer vibes. But
when he was walking, when she was walking him out.
Yeah, like at the end of the episode when he's just standing there, he's like, "Hello, Tayshia."
Oh well, yeah. We haven't got there yet, Matt.
I know, but even when he's walking out with her, he's like, "Whoa, is this real life?" Like, I'm shocked.
Yeah. Is this really goodbye? Yeah. Hey, to be fair, he had a fairly graceful exit because he could have had a walkout for the ages, right? But instead, he's like, oh, "Okay, I'm shocked." But
good luck. There's a lot of good guys left. I mean, he took the high road.
I mean, yeah, I going back to your sociopath or really good guy, you know, straightforward, you know.
That should be a game. Sociopath or really good guy.
Here's how I see it. I think he's a good guy who's got a bit of like an engineer brain. You know what I'm saying? Like guys are just so smart also that they can't really relate to dumb guys like you and me. That like when they try and talk to dumb guys like you and me, and I don't know, Noah, it comes across as condescending because like I don't know how to talk to you in a way that you'll understand.
I'm not as dumb as you think I is, buddy.
I know you're smarter than I am. I'll give you that much, but
I'm hard.
You're the tallest little person in our duo here.
All right, I don't know what that means, but I'll take it. But I think that, I mean, you know, like I laughed because of our jokes in the past when Ed was going through the gift and he saw the mustache socks and he started to laugh. Like in the picture, it was like a half a second snapshot, but it showed Ed picking up the socks and laughing. And I was laughing because I was like, "Oh, it's because he got a perfect score on his math portion of his SAT. Like he gets it, like the highbrow humor."
He gets Bennett's humor, yeah, because they're on the same level, like intellectually.
But I just like, so Noah goes home and
no, Bennett goes home.
Sorry, Bennett goes home, and then Noah starts pounding Tic Tacs like his breath was. He was like sucking on someone's butthole for like 5 hours.
He's nervous, or he had some really bad food before walking in there.
But I love how Tayshia walked in. She's like, "You shouldn't be smiling. This isn't a victory for you." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, put the little boy in his place.
Yep,
like that was awesome. I love that.
Yeah,
and then
to be fair, the kid had such a shit-eating grin on his face. It was worthy of her being like, no. Right?
I respected Tayshia so much for that one. She's like, no, this is not a victory for you.
And I'm trying to think about like other 2-on-1s in the past.
Yeah.
And when the victor was left, if they were all smiles. And I can't say they were. I think they realized they dodged a freaking freight train. Yeah. Right? And they're, I don't know if it's respecting the moment's the right word, but they're self-aware enough to be like, this is serious. I just dodged this, right? And I got to get my act together. He's not there. He's a dog chasing cars, right? Like he's just like, oh, I won. Like, no, that's not no. And I think the rose that he gets at the end during at the very end is not very end, but during the rose ceremony.
He got the last rose.
I think that was a producer pull. I don't know. I mean, maybe she did want him to get it, and the producer pull was they made him his last. But man,
some of the send homes make sense to me though, because Ed's a wet blanket.
And so uneventful. I thought there's gonna be something eventful that would lead to Ed's departure. Nothing happened.
And then Spencer, I don't know why he went home. I thought I pictured him as a front runner.
Yeah, I mean, he was a flash in the pan, if you think about it. Around for 3 episodes and gone.
But I think that, first off, Noah dresses like he's on a frat retreat. But
yeah,
I think that if I were in Tayshia's situation, I get the Noah pick, because why not have someone that's young, fun, and brings a different dynamic? When you look at everyone that's left besides Noah, they're all super serious with a lot of drama and baggage. So why not have something that's uplifting and fun if you have one rose to spare? Because I didn't see DeMar getting a rose anyway, and I didn't see Ed getting a rose. I thought Ed stayed 2 weeks past his expiration point.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think who we saw go home, I don't know, again, could have been a production thing, but there wasn't we didn't know too much about DeMar. We didn't know too much about Ed, other than the fact that he liked to pick fights with other guys who he thought he could outsmart, right?
Yeah.
There was that episode that he had where he was kind of one of the main characters. But outside of that, you never saw him talking to Tayshia. You never saw a relationship developing, and then Spencer's the same thing. We didn't see too much of Spencer outside of the very first episode when he was getting a little aggressive playing that little water polo game in the pool.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I know of Spencer. So, I mean, it seems like they weren't worthy of making it past the editor's cut. Is what it sounds like to begin with.
I just got a text message from my kid's school that someone in their school tested positive for COVID. So, hooray! Yeah. So the school's closed until the 16th.
Oh, boy.
Which means I'm working from home and I have the Wiggles playing in the background on my conference calls. All right. Sorry, I digress.
Sounds like a wonderful conference call.
Yeah. No joke.
What did you want to touch on? We're at the rose ceremony.
So I thought it was funny when Ivan's like, how many roses are there? I can't see that far. And then everyone counts the roses and realizes 3 people are getting cut.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roses. There's 5 of them.
This many. But then all of a sudden they realize 3 are getting axed, and all of a sudden everyone gets super
sad, scared.
Yeah. So DeMar, Spencer, and Ed go home, and then then cuts to the next scene is where they're all sitting around waiting for the date cards. And I want to know where Noah got his sweatshirt with no sleeves. I mean, do him and Bill Belichick have the same designer or personal dressier or clothier? I'd like to get one of those. That's just a personal tangent. I'd like a sweatshirt with no sleeves.
No, that's gym high fashion now. So if you want to get a sweat on, but you still want to try and flex your guns in front of the ladies, yeah, there's a clothing line that does that for you. So
okay, good to know.
It's gym fashion for sure. So, but we know he's one of those guys. So.
Yeah, and he has that ready to go, which is interesting. But JoJo comes in and tells them that next week is hometown dates in a COVID era. So I'm wondering if there's like a Zoom party that's coming down the pike. But all of a sudden,
they put a big plexiglass wall in front of them.
Yeah, no joke. But or their whole family's been quarantined
for 14 days. Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's more expensive that way. At Zoomsy's cheaper. But then all of a sudden, Zach breaks down in tears because families are.
What does he even say? I'm sorry. Obviously, his mind was going somewhere that really touched on a kind of a soft spot in his heart. But all I basically heard from him, and I think I shared my note with you when I was watching this, and I was like, Zach cries in front of all the guys, basically because he says that he had parents and that they're married. Like, did you pick up anything other than that from what he was describing?
All I have are assumptions, and I can't prescribe assumptions on people. Having said that, here I go. He is an addict, and he has hurt his parents so many times. He has fucked so there's something that in here that spoke to me as a divorced male, a divorced person, is that families go through the trauma of divorce just as much as the person that gets divorced. And you have, what's his name? Brendan, Zach. Brendan and Zach are two guys and Tayshia are all three people that have been through divorces, and their family went through the trauma as well. Zach's family on a whole different level has the trauma of him
drug rehabilitation,
being in drug rehabilitation, stealing, all this lies, deceit, and whatever it may be. I think I feel like there's a sense of not worthiness that Zach has for his parents. And so inviting them into his happiness probably brings him grief and despair, which makes me wonder if he's ready for it. I don't know anything about it, but I feel like there's some sense of like addiction, and there's like
I could see that, or I could see the fact that he's finally gotten to a point where he's healthy, he's doing healthy things, and now he's moving on with his life in a healthy direction and has somebody that he really cares about. And to share that with his parents might be for him kind of like a look, Ma, I made it type of moment for him.
Yeah.
So, but I could see either of those. Hell, maybe both of those scenarios are taking place in his mind at the same time.
But the reaction was so odd that it makes me question if he's ready for it.
It hit him immediately. Like he teared up before he even explained himself.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was immediate.
So I think that was weird, but then, like there's a lot of heavy shit to talk about in this episode because we'll get to Ben's one-on-one now. I mean, they did a scavenger hunt, and I think the only perks or things to mention is he took his pants off voluntarily to get into a fountain.
I was going to say, in that fountain, I was like, at one point I saw he had pants on, and the other point I'm like, I just see a shirt and like white thighs. Did he take his pants off? I missed that part. But
he didn't want to get his jeans wet, and Tayshia's like, I don't mind him taking off his pants. I mean, in fact, I think it's kind of cool. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, I'll put it this way: if you ever get your jeans wet, like you fall into a river or something like that, or whatever, wet jeans are the worst because they take forever to dry.
It's true. But the only other thing to mention in the first part of the date was
the worst part. Hopefully you're going to mention this, is that they rode those damn electric scooters.
Oh, like the limes or the birds or whatever they're called.
Birds, whatever, yeah.
But the coronavirus pinata made me laugh, and they didn't show them hitting it. But
I did catch that one.
I appreciated that they had a coronavirus pinata for them to hit. But
I've got a quick question for you in that moment before we go down to a super serious route. I got the vibe that Ben was sick and tired of playing these games. Because when they hit all the pinatas and none of them had the next clue in it, he ripped open that cactus thing. Like, he's like, I'm over this. She was like, oh, all right, we're not going to beat it up. He just grabbed it and ripped it apart.
I think he got tired of it too. I mean, it's the last pinata that you chose to hit is the right one. So, taking a couple swings of that stick, I mean, it's uncomfortable. And he's got that military aggression pent up in him. But I mean, like, I feel bad for Ben because
softly carry a big stick.
So. Oh, well done. Excuse me. In the evening portion of the date, see, I'm using my hand up here. I didn't get her line of questioning. Sucked. She's like, "It's almost came to me, and it was almost like it's too late, and I told you really need to step up, but why are you so stressed?" It's like, you literally told me. I was almost too late to do this. No, I mean, and she's like, you're almost like too perfect. And then you hear,
I hate that. I hate that statement.
I hate that statement too. And I know what he's saying. Like, I'm just a human, but I thought it was interesting how he said the military conditioned me to kind of stymie all of that stuff
Mm-hmm.
and not get into it. And it's like a lot of these, football players, military men more and women, military men and women, they're conditioned to react to certain stimuli a certain way so that they can be the best soldiers they can on the field or on the battlefield. Like I thought it was very interesting that he chose military conditioning because it's a very unspoken part of, mental health of soldiers when they come back from war, if they go to war or whatever it may be.
Well, and what I thought was interesting too was that he explains this a little bit as he starts kind of telling her more about who he is, but really he gets into the fact that this concept of, again, it's funny, we were talking about this earlier in the podcast, but this feeling of being unworthy, right? That he's unworthy of being taken care of, right? And I feel like military and even sports, even athletics can get you in that mindset where it's like you're only as good as what you can produce for the team, and it's not you, it's the 11 people on the field, or it's your squad or your unit, where it's like everything that you do is supposed to be of selfless behavior, right? Yep. And so not that I'm saying that any of these institutions are training you to like, no, you're a piece of crap, don't, whatever. But I think it's when you do that for a long enough period of time, for kids playing football, it could be 12 to 15 plus years, right? And it just kind of conditions you like, my problems aren't worth even bringing up, right?
Correct.
And I can only imagine the military when you're worried about keeping your heart pumping, right? Blood to your body, right? That, if you're going through something emotionally, you're not going to bring that up, especially not to your squad. And I think over time, it just conditions you to be like, I'm not worthy of having any of my emotional needs taken care of.
Correct. And so, then he kind of drops a bomb, which is like crazy to do on national TV, but he had 2 failed suicide attempts, which circles back to her statement that you're too perfect. Like there couldn't have been a more stinging words to his ears than you're too perfect. Those 3 words.
Yeah. Imagine how much he must have cringed at hearing that the first time.
Yeah.
I would have.
And so I think that it's important to speak on this. He said that therapy saved his life. His sister saved his life. As someone that's gone to therapy their entire life, it's important if you're feeling those feelings, if you feel like you don't have worth, you do go talk to somebody because someone's lying to you, whether it's your brain, whether it's the devil, whether it's someone that's not kind to you. Be sure to talk to someone that can understand you. And I can't stress the importance of therapy. With that out of the way, did anyone look more inconvenienced to be on camera than Blake Boynes this episode? Yeah. He's like, every time the camera went to him, he's like, oh, crap, I have to do this more. It's like ever since he had to, he thought he had to go nude on TV for 3 times in a row. Like the guy's been super stressed out every time the red light turns on in his direction. He's like, oh, I got to talk to Noah. Oh, my gosh. Then he cries. He cries when he gets a one-on-one. What is it with these people?
Hey, I'll put it this way. Somehow Blake is flying under the radar, in my opinion. He is flying under the radar.
Yeah.
He's kind of a character still. I think I don't think he's a bad dude. I think, but it's like you hear little tidbits about him throughout the last 9 episodes. But who knows? Maybe he's the new dark horse because Ivan's come out of nowhere, right? He was our dark horse, and now he's like, he's a podium contender, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So who's Blake might be our dark horse at this point.
I think Blake goes home on his one-on-one. That's my guess. But
you think she's going to pull a Claire and do a whole one-on-one just to send him home at the end of it?
Well, I think that Ben gets a rose. I think Ivan's a shoo-in for the final. How many people go to hometowns? 4?
4. Because then it
comes to fantasy suite.
Yeah, they're supposed to travel around to somewhere, but that didn't happen in this season.
I think Brendan goes. I think Ben goes. I think Ivan goes, and I think Riley should go, but I don't think it's got to be Zach because she's told him she's falling in love with him. but I'm getting ahead of myself, and I know that we're coming close on the clock here. But she takes a group date of men, these 5 men, to take polygraph tests with JoJo reading polygraph deals. I'll give you the cliff notes. Ivan is aroused by Tayshia. Noah got layups, and he misses his mustache as much as his mustache misses him. Okay, child. Brendan got straight up oranges. Zach has cheated, but he's also not a liar, which is interesting to point out.
Which he played that wonderfully.
Yes, he did. He ended up, and then Riley lied about his name, but is honest. So why don't you tell us how Zach played off the cheating deal?
Well, so in the lie detector test, Zach says, or when asked, have you ever cheated on a girlfriend? Or on someone, right? And he says yes. And so Tayshia's like, it's always been a deal breaker for me. And so by the time they get to their night session, right, their cocktail hour, they they end up sitting down one-on-one on the couch, and he ends up leading her out of this whole story about how is my buddy's friend or my buddy's girlfriend or whatever. This sounds so terrible, right? And he leaves enough just for this like awkward pause for her to just kind of like process what he just told her, this whole story about how he cheated on his girlfriend.
He French kissed a girl at Bowlorama.
But then he says, I was in 6th grade. And all of a sudden she's like, oh, okay, like we're good. All right. Like it's like, which, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's
once a cheater, always a cheater. She said
it.
And he said he cheated on his first girlfriend.
Does cheating on a girlfriend, at no matter what age you are, is that ever not a thought? Is my question.
What do you say that a different way?
Just the way that Tayshia kind of was like, oh, that's nothing. Was kind of like, well, I don't know. For me as a guy, I'm like, he still did cheat. I know he was a child, right? But like, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's huge red flags. I'm just saying she was just like, I think she likes him so much, she's going to be like, oh, whatever. Like,
it's nothing. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's like the rules keep changing. and when I say that, I mean like it used to be like cheating was just physical. Mm-hmm. And now cheating can be emotionally, and cheating can be spiritually, and cheating like the act of physically cheating. Let's like 6th grade is a nothing burger. My 6th grade girlfriend, I don't know if she listens to the show or not, still friends, but it's like I said, you're my girlfriend, and then I didn't talk to her for 5 months until she broke up with me. So it's like really like how much
we're dogs chasing cars. We have no idea what to do once we get a girlfriend.
I mean, now my high school girlfriend's different, like because there's emotions attached, there's a lot more physicality or whatever it may be. But my 6th grade girlfriend literally is like, she came up to me and broke up with me after dating for 5 months. I was so shocked, and at the same time I was like, I haven't really talked to you the last 5 months.
Where did this come from? We haven't talked in 5 months.
What the hell happened? I thought everything was going great. So I don't know, but I've like, now it's like emotionally cheating. It's kind of like if you like relate to a friend who is a different gender, all of a sudden it could be construed as cheating. If your relationship's bad, if you have a bad relationship with the relationship you're in, and you have an inability to talk about certain things that you can't other hear, they could be construed as cheating. So it's kind of like all just misconstrued now. But I thought Zach's answer was fine.
I thought it was wonderful. Yeah, I mean, don't worry. I'm in that same boat. I'm like, the dude was a child. Like, you don't even know. Like, again, you don't know what you. Hell, I had a girlfriend in my freshman year of high school. I still didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't know. Like, I think we broke up 2 weeks later because we didn't hang out for 2 weeks straight. I saw her on campus, but it was like she was like begging. I could tell in retrospect. I could tell she was like, "All right, we're gonna go hang out somewhere on Saturday night. Like, what are we doing?" Like, and I was like,
"Nope."
I have my mom and dad take us somewhere. Like, F no. Like, that wasn't happening.
I think as a guy, like, when you're like young and you ask a girl out, like after you ask her out, the hard part's done, and then like as a young man, you're like, oh, I did it. I have a girlfriend. It's great. Let's ride this. as long as I need to. Check.
I've got a girlfriend.
Are you gonna kiss her? Fuck no. But she's my girlfriend, so she better not think about other guys.
I'm gonna hold her hand.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of funny. And I thought all the guys handled their question marks really well. Felt really bad for Riley. Very interesting story. He changed his name from a junior to something brand new for a fresh start. Feel really bad for Riley because I feel like Riley's being railroaded a little bit because I think there's 0% chance that Riley wins, and he's such a decent dude that I like hate to see him like stepping beyond his comfort level just because I know it's not going to happen.
It's just like Jason, right?
Yeah.
Claire ripped Jason's heart out, and then all right, peace, see ya.
Yeah.
I think Riley's being potentially could be dragged along a lot further. I mean, I think as far as like who's the most real right now, Riley, hands down.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that Riley he's a dude.
Right? He's got a tough exterior, but I mean, he's breaking it down when it's appropriate, if it's appropriate. You know, if he was in the situation with Tayshia where he could go at a normal speed, I think he'd be really good for her. Mm-hmm. But this shit accelerates everything. So she ends up giving nobody a rose, which is a move I actually respected.
I did too. I actually did like that because of where she was getting with all of those guys. How do you give one guy a rose?
You can't.
I'm sorry.
If you have that many people open up that much, like you would absolutely devastate someone if like
it's completely disrespecting what they just went through. In my opinion.
I agree, and I thought it was a classy move. I tip my hat to her because I was like, these guys are not going to understand. They'd be pissed in the moment because they can't see the conversations that everyone else had. But at the same time, like it could be a devastating, especially how hard it is to drop walls with someone. Like if you drop walls and all of a sudden it's like someone else is, what do you call it? What's the word? Affirmed or?
Yeah, affirmed.
I'm talking with my hands a lot today. I just want to show you my new bruise. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like your dad grabbed your arm real hard and said, "Stop it."
Hey. The dad. Hey. Yeah. So I thought it was good because I thought, like if she were to give the rose to say Zach, Riley would close up again, or Ivan would close up, or Brenda would close up, or Zach would close up. Noah would give two shits, so who cares?
Yeah.
Everyone else.
Yeah. And again, to your point too, it's like one of these is not like the other. It's like all these other guys are grown men and they had to work through some stuff.
Yeah, no, it's
Noah
like
has yet to get there. He just has yet to get there.
Do you miss your mustache? No. Well, I think it misses me. It's like that was his hardest question that they showed us.
Yeah.
But so then she goes back to her villa, or should I say Chateau Benet, because Bennett shows up and he's like, "Hello, Tayshia, can I talk with you?" And then she's like, "Oh my gosh, you look beautiful." And they go inside, they sit awkwardly down on the couch, and then Bennett, I think in the most sincere Bennett way possible, actually express love to her.
Yes.
And I think she felt that.
And that's what I was going to ask you, because what I saw from those interactions, or their interaction, I think he won her over up front. As it went on, her face, you could see visibly change from like she felt special. She felt like he was really making a grand gesture, like he's really serious about her. He just confessed that he's falling in love with her. And as they kept talking, she started getting back that same stern look in her face that was like, it's time, like that she had when she sent him home in the first place. And I was like, if he would have shut up and just said, "I want to make it work with you," and just let her make a decision, he might be walking in that night. But we find out, the little spoiler, looks like he is coming back, so we'll find that out anyways. But
I think though
I just know that her face changed from positive and glowing to like, it's time, I'm gonna walk you out, right? It's like he lost her somewhere there in that interaction.
But he gave her the space, which is like so refreshing to see. Like, I don't want you to have to feel like you have to answer me right now. Take the time to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he did not force her to make a decision. He just expressed his case, and then he backed off. Like, like this is a very adult approach to things.
It is.
It's not good TV, but it's a very adult way of approaching this. Like, I'm going to put this out there, and I'm going to tell you why. And I think like she felt that. I think she started thinking about the other men, which is kind of why her face changed. Like, how do I bring him back in and without making everyone pissed? And I don't think you can do that. But the only thing I did not like about Bennett's plea, if you will, was that he said, I never would hurt you. And I swear, he said, I swear to you. He said two very absolute statements that I think that it's impossible to make, because you can never tell somebody you'll never hurt them.
Well, and what do we know about absolutes? Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I think about that all the stinking time. Yeah, so we're going to pick up and figure out whether she invites Bennett back on or not. Judging by everyone's reactions, it doesn't look favorable to everyone else, so we'll have to wait and see. So that's the episode. At the end of every episode, we give a stones rating. We each have 2 stones to give.
Naturally.
And 2 stones means you enjoyed the episode. 1 stones means it's aight, and then 0 stones means that an act of castration is preferable than watching this episode. We also have the lowly vaulted deli meat scale, which Alex gave an Italian sandwich last week to the episode. So we'll have to see what his creative brain picked up this time. But I'm going to go first, and I'm going to go 2 stones. And I do not think that it was super entertaining, but I think that this episode has brought more mental health awareness out for men than any show I've ever watched ever before. And I think that there's a lot of important themes and topics that are kind of taboo that are being completely flushed out. And it's mostly from Zach and Ben and their and Jason and their willingness to be open. So I'll give this episode 2 stones, mostly because of Ben.
Yeah, I think, I was struggling between 1 stone and 2 stones, and I was leaning more towards 1 stone. I'll give it 1 stone. And my reason was exactly that, though. I found myself looking at other things, flipping on the Instagram account while it was going, and I wasn't missing a whole lot, right? So like you said, it wasn't very entertaining. I wasn't burning a hole through my laptop taking notes as I was watching, right? So for that purpose, I'll give it a 1 stone. However, that meaty scale, I'm giving it a prime 12-ounce steak of bison.
Whoa.
It's deep and red, full of flavor, because it was a meaty episode and it was deep.
Yeah. So, I liked how they showed the suicide helpline in the middle too, because I think that's important, especially going into another round of lockdowns. I
mean, think about this. Yeah, like you said, between Jason and Zach with his drugs, and then Ben. I mean, the poor guy struggled with bulimia and with suicide. I mean, he's got some shit to figure out, right? I mean, and that's. I just hope that Tayshia really thinks about her willingness to own that part of the relationship if she goes forward with him. That's a big thing, and I don't, if she was honest at one point, if she wasn't sure she could handle it, and that if that's the reason why, not because of his past, but because of that lifelong struggle.
Yep.
Right. I respect her for it more.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I mean, we're not going to see it, but if she stays with him and fights that fight with him the whole rest of his life, I respect her all the more for that too. But we're not going to see that side. But
yep.
I just hope that we see that she does experience the gravitas of being in a relationship where somebody struggles things.
Well, I think that's a really excellent point to bring up, because mental illness or mental conditions don't go away ever. And a person can learn to cope with it or to deal with it. Speaking with someone that has, a mental normality like I do, it's something that you learn to live with, and it's something that you learn to tolerate, and it's something that you work towards. The second you stop working towards it, it rears its head again. So you have to understand that this is not going to be something that just goes away. And Ben's going to have image issues the rest of his life. How much they control his life is completely up to Ben, his therapist, and the work that he puts into it. But it's a life sentence. It does not just disappear. Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of good stuff that's being brought to light, and I applaud Ben, and I applaud Zach, and I applaud Jason for bringing it to light, because a lot of people think that men just don't suffer, and men have it so easy.
Or we suck it up, we rub some dirt on it, we go forward.
So I'm liking that twist. I honestly thought you were going to go with a French dip sandwich to stick with your deli meat, but you went a bison steak.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Thick, deep, juicy, not a deli meat.
I don't know how to make fun of you next week. This is going to be tough for me. All right. 3 Stones, bison steak episode. So check it out. Check us out on Instagram at RO Stones Guys, on Twitter at RO Stones Guys, on YouTube at RO Stones Guys. If you want to be a part of the show, just slide into our DMs. We can patch you in here. The finale show, I think, is coming up, I guess, in 4 weeks.
I was going to say they're doing 2 episodes next week, so we're going to have lots to cover come next week.
Love to hear your thoughts. You can reach out to us on those things. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, share, whatever it may be. We really appreciate you listening, and whoever the person is that's listening on their Alexa, fucking love you, by the way.
Yeah, that means the whole house you're in are terrible voices.
That's commitment. So if you're playing us on the Alexa, I tip my hat to you. All right. Y'all have a good week. Alex, you have a good week too.
You as well.
All right. Bye.
Have a good night.